Thank you for coming. And I'm Odessa Primus, a young leader here at EDD. I am here with Cecile Riallant. Yes?
Yes.
Very good.
Perfect.
Head UN Joint Migration and Development Initiative. So I have 4 questions for you. The first one: what role do cities? Mistake. What role do cities and local and regional authorities have in implementing the migration-related elements of the SDGs?
I would say that this role is absolutely crucial because for a very simple reason. In fact, migration is most and foremost an urban phenomenon. Migrants as well as displaced persons are arriving most and foremost into cities. So therefore, cities, but as well local and regional authorities in general terms, are the frontline responders. They are the ones that have, on a daily basis, to put in place the necessary services to cater for the needs of migrants as well as displaced population. But as well, they have a very important role in using the development potential that migrants and displaced people bring to the cities where they arrived. So this is why this role is absolutely paramount. And another very good reason why we have to work very closely with cities and local and regional authorities is because that's the place where the interaction with the civil society is the best done. And we know very well that if we want to really work on this nexus between migration and development, it's so important to have civil society on board, but as well other very important stakeholders such as the private sector and so on. And it's really in those local contexts that all those actors may come to work together. And local authorities are really important leaders to have this convening power. I would say as well there's another very good reason why it's important to work with them is because it's really where you see innovation, where cities have to be extremely pragmatic in finding the right solutions, and they tend to do it in ways that are far less politicized than what can be seen at the national level. So it's a really efficient way to get away from the toxic instrumentalization of migration and really look for practical solutions that are most and foremost geared towards ensuring social cohesion at the end of the day, to make sure that a community work properly. And that's really what mayors and other elected actors are striving to achieve. And therefore, going back to your question about the linkages, of course, with the SDGs is absolutely important. The very good thing is that the SDGs have now, as you know, made this connection with migration. So migration is no longer perceived as a development failure, which was the case for a long period of time. And now we know it's really recognized the great contribution that migration is making to our societies, to our economies, and that it has done for centuries so far. So basically, what is really important is that the cities really look into this agenda and try to make it happen within their own context. And that role really has been recognized on many levels now, not only within the SDG framework, but as well very much within other important instruments, like the new urban agenda that was approved recently in Quito, and as well in the Rio Plus 20. Now we have a very interesting concept to work with, like the right to the city. What does it mean, the right to the city for migrants? Yeah. So this is why working at local context really help us to bring innovation and review our policies and bring this whole movement forward.
Changing the narrative on migration.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were just talking about that with Gervais Apave from IOM. Yes, very necessary. How should they be involved in the upcoming global compacts on migration and on refugees? And I'm now talking about cities and local authorities.
Yeah, of course. I think their role has to be key for all the reasons that I just mentioned and started laying out. But it's not sure yet how this role is going to be secured. I mean, what we can say is that both in the New York Declaration on Migrants and Refugees, as well as in the modalities of the Global Compact on Migration, there is acknowledgement of the important voice that cities have, as well as local and regional authorities in this field, but how their voices are going to be captured and how they're going to be included in the whole negotiation process in which we are going to embark, that's not really clear. And I think this is why, as United Nations system, we have a very important role to plug, those local voices, those local elected actors with that dialogue so that it doesn't remain a conversation among governments only.
Okay. And perhaps you're the perfect person to answer this question. What is the UN doing to support them in this role? And if you could possibly give me an example, and we're going to just keep this a little brief.
Sure. I think what we do is very important. Our role is really most and foremost the one of being a convener. But in the context, for example, of the program that I manage, the UN Joint Migration and Development Initiative, we have been really engaging with supporting existing initiatives of civil society organizations working jointly with cities to really do this connection between migration and development. So in very, for example, how to include migration in local development planning so that, dealing with human mobility is connected properly with urban planning so that, proper services are being provided, looking into fighting against xenophobia, looking into the mental health of migrants. So really, making sure that all those local actors are working cohesively, understanding what the needs of migrants are, and integrating that into the normal services provided to the larger community. So that's why I would say that our role is very important as well in terms of bringing those local voices into those global dialogues, going back to your previous question.
Yes.
And there I would like to mention one very important initiative that is that we are supporting as GMDI, that is a global mayor forum on human mobility, migration and development that we're convening on an annual basis and really providing a platform for local elected actors to talk to one another, exchange their practices, but most and foremost, weigh in the global conversation.
Yes, and perhaps on what you just said, just a couple sentences, people are key to reaching the SDGs. We've just talked about that. How can people, and especially young people, make a contribution to the Agenda 2030? 3 sentences.
I think by holding, policy leaders accountable to the SDG framework.
So accountability, definitely. Thank you very much.